Welcome to The Daily Increase, the show that gives you tips and ideas on how to improve your life with small, manageable changes. I'm your host, Juan Artigas, and I'll be interviewing influencers in health, wealth, relationships, and personal development who will be sharing their habits that have made them successful. You see, change is never easy and can often seem insurmountable. That's why if you can commit to small, meaningful habits, you will begin to improve your life in ways that you didn't think were even possible. So take a listen and then take action. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hi, everyone. Today we're joined by Matisyahu, who is the director of the Long and Short Way podcast, as well as an entrepreneur specializing in website and sales funnels. Hi, Matisyahu. How are you?
Thank God. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And thanks for being on the show. So it sounds like you do a bunch of very interesting things. Can you give our audience kind of a background about yourself and how you got to be where you are today?
Sure. First off, I want to thank God for the opportunity that the activity that's been generated has led to someone like you asking to talk about the Daily Increase, which I think is fantastic. I'm coming from Los Angeles, graduated college in 2012. And my college experience was not the typical one. I had before that actually been in a residential treatment center in Utah, had struggled with a lot of depression and had these dreams of getting involved with the basketball world. So when I left, I became the manager of my junior college, Pierce College out in LA, and then got into all the UC schools except for UCLA that I wanted to out there, and decided, well, with everything I've developed in basketball, going from a manager to working with grassroots organizations that are the people responsible for scouting out the future talent of the NBA, such as within this program, there was guys like Paul George, Klay Thompson, James Harden, the list goes on. And so these guys were people I was working with when they were in high school and really grew within this program, and then co-founded a business called Campbell Metrics with Coach Steve Campbell, who I recognized was training a lot of my high school guys and doing incredible things. And we really grew that into meeting a lot of agents, meeting different people that then started sending us players to develop. And they became Nick Young. I mentioned Paul George, John Wall. And so that was my experience in college, which was infused by one core activity, which was talking about God. It was the biggest and most important thing to me. I just didn't know where to go. I had a Jewish education as a child and some exposure, but nothing really before I went to that school in Utah. And so really amazing things happened while all of this was going on. And I got to meet the rabbi at the campus and go to different programs around the country. And ultimately, even though I had a business ready for me to go even harder than I've gone before when I graduated college, I decided to actually get on a plane and go to Israel to study Judaism.
Fantastic. Yeah. And that is a very unconventional college experience, I guess you might say. So you went from being a regular college student to being a manager of a basketball team at the school you started at, and then went out to California and a bunch of the UC schools. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That led you to your journey to Israel. And how long were you out in Israel?
I was actually out there for 2 weeks and decided I hated it. And I went back home and said, I need to get my business off the ground. And I got home, my family had this vacation plan because I was supposed to be out in Israel. And when I got back, a few days went by and I said, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing. And I literally spent my last dollar and got on a plane back. So I then was there in Israel for a year and a half, came back to America, met my wife, who actually we had met in Israel before, and returned for 6 more months before now ultimately living in Pittsburgh.
So you've lived in different parts of the country and actually in different coasts of the country before college and then afterwards. What was your experience like when you were over in Israel? What were things that you felt changed you, or what did you find out over there about yourself?
It's a great question. In Israel, a few things happened. I like to talk about an integrated life. So we have our physical life, we have our spiritual, we have our relationships with friends, and now marriage or whatever somebody might have, and as well as business. So all of these things were things that I was involved with before I went. And it turned into something that was very singular focused, but with the mindset that it was going to impact everything else. So it was a 16-hour day. Let's see, official program 7:30 to 9:30. So what's that? It's 14 hours, but I did a little earlier, I did a little after. So really 16-hour days where I was waking up and we had a 2-hour break, dinner, lunch, obviously, but it was studying the Torah. So the morning was studying Hasidic Judaism. The next hour was spent in prayer services. From there, we learned 3 hours of what's called the Talmud, which is, you can call the Jewish Constitution. Then I had a break, and this break is a place that was very, very touchy subject for me, because coming from the fitness background, or working with basketball and working with players in the gym, and myself obviously working out, physical fitness is a huge part of my life. I was 35 pounds overweight before this basketball journey started, and I had no idea I was overweight or anything. And so being in the gym was a special thing for me. And going to the school, there wasn't a gym close by. And even if I would go, it would take up most of my break, even just getting there and back. And so I found P90X, which was something I judged by its cover, you could say. In the gym, we would laugh about programs like that because we're in the gym and we're doing all these amazing things. But all of a sudden, I had to say to myself, wait, well, what are you going to do if you don't adopt this program? You're probably just going to melt in reality. And so I started P90X, and I had a hallway to do it in and no weights. So I had to buy resistance bands. So I'm literally in there with a pull-up bar, resistance bands, and about 3 feet of space to do P90X. And so I learned a lot from that, because on one hand, we do so many things for our life that are moving it forward. But on the other, there's the things that are between the lines that actually gear everything up. So that workout for me, if it didn't happen, I didn't like my day. And at the same time, if I didn't wake up to do that one class, I didn't like my day. So I had to start learning over there about how to be passionate and not intense.
So what does that mean exactly? Passionate but not intense. What does that look like?
Passionate looks like where you're happy throughout your day and it's flowing and there's just not really an expectation. Intense, I think, is that things have to happen. And I think it's an emotional attachment to these things. And I think that once we separate ourselves from these things that we do, we become a person again, and we start being able to forgive ourselves for being a person, because there's God who's not a person, and there's all of us. We're just people. So at the end of the day, we're talking about 16-hour days. You're talking about big ideas, big projects. It's not that you're going to fail at the end, but the long, short way is all about what's happening now and what's happening later at the same time, because we might have a goal and a destination, but the days in between, if you look back, might not have been what you would expected, but they still got you there. So for me, it was intensity was cannot be a minute late. Passionate was, if I am a minute late, I'm on to the next thing. I'm not bothered by it.
I see. Yeah, it's kind of like forgiving yourself if you slip, or if you mess up, or if you don't do something exactly the way you thought you were going to do it.
And getting more into the meaning of what you're doing and why you're doing it. For me, it was that I got to this school and I had so much I wanted to conquer, but I realized the more I wanted to conquer, the more I wasn't conquering. And when I just started realizing that all that's being told to me through Hasidic Judaism is that God wants you, God needs you, and I just made it all about, okay, how can I get closer to God today? What can I do to get closer? And so it just became a flowing day, enjoyable, enjoying in the moment, not thinking about, I have to get this done, not thinking about the next thing that has to get done. Just, wow, like I'm in Jerusalem, 20 minutes away from the Western Wall, where we haven't even had the ability to go to the Western Wall for the last 2,000 years. And wow, I'm in Israel and I don't have to worry about money and life is good. Like just enjoying and thinking, wow, this teacher is so smart. Just what beautiful days I'm having. And that was a huge adjustment, because for me, it was 16 hours a day in the basketball gym during the summers and all this stuff. And it was just the next and moving. And that was just so awesome to experience and make that change in Israel.
That's very well put. And I think what you're getting at too is the importance of gratitude. We all want to strive for something more. We all want to improve. We all want to make our situations better. But at the same time, we should look at what we do have and be thankful for that, because that can empower you to make even more change.
Definitely.
So when you came back from Israel and you settled in Pittsburgh, where did your life go from there? What was kind of the next phase in your journey?
I have a friend who has a business and wanted to get set up in Pittsburgh. And so I said I was comfortable going back out to Israel because I figured I would have a job when I came back, which 2 months into my wife and I being out in Israel, that job was canceled. And again, so I had to go through this process of, all right, well, now we're here for 4 more months and don't have any plan for after that. And that didn't scare me and it didn't bother me. It just meant to me, where in my day will I find a time to every day spend a little bit of time where I'm not stressing, I'm not being intense, and I'm just thinking about what the reality is. Reality is real. And that's what I found what's funny about the word Israel is that if you break it up, it is real. And that hit me in Israel because I had to have my day where I was still doing my learning, spending my time with my new wife, not coming across stressed out, coming across as if that it's going to be okay, because that's what a husband has to do. You're the leader of your home, which means that you need to get over yourself and you need to not be scared and you need to get really brave. So that was what was going on in my mind. So I started going through a process that I went through before, which was, how do you get a job? How do you go start something? Because for me, it wasn't about going getting a job. I just had to get started. Before I was married, it was, I could do whatever I want. I can go here. I can go here. I can start this. I can start that. This was, now there is a monthly responsibility other than my own that I need to take seriously. And so every day for an hour while we were in Israel, I went on the computer and started thinking about, well, what is it that I like? I like sports. I like technology now because I've been exposed to that in Israel and through friends in Silicon Valley. And I like meeting people, getting out there, building things. And so startups, technology, sports, these were keywords for me. So you got to start typing in your keywords into Google. Pittsburgh, sports, startup, technology. Something came up. A company called Athlete Tracks, a great company. Other companies I found as well, and I ended up within the first week of doing that on Skype with 3 different people. So now I had one of the companies that I ultimately worked for gave me an offer, and the other 2 wanted to wait to meet me in Pittsburgh when we got back, and I met them. When we ultimately got back, they didn't give me the job, and Athlete Tracks did, which was a fertile ground for me because I wanted to learn technology. I had sports already, and this product was literally going to the market that I worked with, which was grassroots basketball coaches and other sports like that as well, where I know the ecosystem and I know their problems, which are organizing in tournaments, organizing camps, getting people to register, staying in touch, giving updates. And so I went there, but I had never really actually had a job before. Everything I was doing was very much my own. Even if it was attached to others, it was always I was always driving the car, and it might have just been sometimes parked on a bigger truck, which is, by the way, a strategy for another time, but a good one. And 2 years spending on spiritual development had to now translate into business development. The crucial key part there was, how do I now go take the message, which I was just developing in my head, of making the world, that's the physical world, infusing my spirituality into it. So what that meant to me is thinking things like anything is possible, as an example, that I can come here now when I've never done a cold calling sales job before, and I'm going to learn. And so I got very, very lucky to have a friend named James Kabushani, who has a company called Sav Studios out in LA. And he and I both started out at 18 years old. He was working part-time at Best Buy. Now he's got this huge studio where he does commercials for large companies. And it all happened through, he says, personal development stuff. So he starts sending me 4-Hour Work Week, watch Grant Cardone, read Tony Robbins. And it wasn't that this is a contradiction to my spirituality. It's that this spoke in the language of, this is how you do something. This is how you do this. So while the Torah might have philosophical ideas of that you can apply to marketing, Torah also approves you to go learn things that are wise and going to help you do something. So within months, we were doing a ton of sales for a product that was just free. But it started itching me because all these people that were helping me with my growth for this job, the message was real to me, that you need to man up. You need to make something for yourself, because even if making $75,000 in your first year in work sounds good, that's not, my focus is never on a dollar sign and it's never on a figure. My focus is on what am I going to do? What impact am I going to make? So that's where we ended up. And I started to apply my real wisdom, which was like in basketball. Okay, I'm in Pittsburgh now, new city. What do I do? Who can I start looking up? Who are the top startups around here? Who are the top CEOs? Who has a lot of movement happening? What events are proper to go to that I'm going to gain from? So I started doing all of that. I read Think and Grow Rich and literally wrote down all the assignments in this book. And a day later, I find on Eventbrite, MIT Enterprise Forum presents robotics in Pittsburgh. Why Pittsburgh is the hub for robotics around the world. And there I met a ton of people. But what happened was I started to teach myself who I really was, because we had just founded a company that was to make responsive websites. And I'm sitting there and I wasn't thinking about goals. And I'm watching all the people go up to the speakers after, and everybody's starting with these statements like, I do this, I do this, I. And so I said to myself, okay, you know what? I want to meet these speakers, but there's 4 of them and I'm not going to get all 4. So which 2 can I get? So I picked 2 that are on the business side of the robotics. And so I said to myself, I'm going to sit here until everybody is done, and I'm going to be the last person they speak to. So one guy, his name is Jim Rock, who's the CEO of Seagrid, a huge robotics company here. And I go up to him and just say, I just wanted to let you know, I was really, really inspired by what you just said. I'm a young guy who just moved here, and told him my story a little bit and just said to him, thank you. And then he asked me what I do. And I said, well, my company makes websites. The next day he hooks me up with the marketing director of his company. And we didn't get the job ultimately, but to tell you the figures, we're talking, it was a $30,000 opportunity. The other person is the managing director of what's called the Robotics Hub, which is a startup accelerator specifically for robotics. It's the first of its kind. It's unbelievable, unreal what they're doing here. And we actually just made their website, the Robotics Hub. So I developed this relationship with this guy and just start learning a lot and start helping a couple of companies out with some marketing and robotics around here. But that event was critical because it wasn't just them. It was also the other people in the crowd. And as well as the person that ran the event is an investment banker and actually my personal mentor now. So Tim Ferriss is correct that networking can be an illness and a disease. And it should, if done right, you should only need to go to 1, 2, 3 events, because people are what moves it all around. And if you are able to just go to something like this and leave with these kind of relationships, that is what started to happen here. Is mentorship started leading to the next steps, being asked questions like, well, what do you really want to do? And then me saying that, and then hearing questions like, well, what is between you doing that right now and having that result? And I started to think, well, I'd really like to make a podcast. I'd really like to get my story out there. This story of a guy going from depression, suicide, all sorts of sad problems, and to basketball, to Israel, and back here now. And so coming to Pittsburgh, I first off have to give Pittsburgh a lot of credit. The Torah actually has a line that says, in big shoes you stand. And so I feel in Pittsburgh that I'm standing in big shoes. It's an old city which has had a lot of work done. Andrew Carnegie, Frick, all sorts of people, Schwab, all sorts of people that were here that really built this place. And so I'm just really grateful that it's the right city, the right people around, and trying to just fit the right me into it.
It sounds like it. And so that's quite an incredible arc that you went through there. How did you end up deciding to go to Pittsburgh? Because you were obviously coming from the West Coast. of the U.S. You were in California, and then you went to Israel. When you came back, why Pittsburgh? I mean, we know now you have the robotics thing there and everything else, but at the time where you were still back in Israel looking for a place to come back to, what led you to Pittsburgh exactly?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to answer that question, because it's actually a really special place for me. I feel that this answer actually defines me in a lot of ways, and I pray for people to adopt this kind of mindset, because it's not I didn't make it up, and I'm not the first person to live this way. There have been people that have moved cities, moved countries all throughout history, but I'm just going to share what went into that on a principle level. So in a Hasidic Jew's life, you think about, well, I want to be around others like me, not to exclude myself from other people, but just clearly, like anybody would want to be around a community, because that's people that understand intimately certain things that others might not get about you. But it doesn't also mean you just isolate. You also start thinking, well, we keep kosher food, so is there resources for that? We start thinking we're going to have kids, so schools, and well, there's a lot of places with schools, but in America, you have the 4 big cities, New York, Miami, LA, Chicago, that have the whole Jewish infrastructure. And then aside from that, Pittsburgh is the only city that has what they have. We don't have obviously the size, but if you dumb down the size proportionally, we have the same thing. We have a community, we have restaurant, we have market, and we have schools for both boys and girls that go all the way until being done with high school. So aside from those 4 cities, this is the only place to have that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, of course. And on top of that, it happens to be what's called a predominantly Baal Teshuvah community. And so what a Baal Teshuvah is somebody that lives the daily increase. And it's somebody in reality that on their mind, on the mindset is coming back to God. So it doesn't mean that one day you weren't religious and the next day you are. It means that wherever you are and whoever you are, that what's on your mind is getting closer to God. And so typically that kind of person is looked at as somebody like me who didn't really grow up with a Jewish connection and really adopted one throughout his life. So that is a big part of Pittsburgh. A lot of people are very similar in that fashion. So these combinations were just making it a no-brainer. So people say, well, what about the weather? Okay. So I just start asking myself, what am I going to live for and what's really going to stop me? So when we talk about the weather, I mean, what are we saying? That you're just going to get bothered by the weather? Like all these other amazing opportunities are just going to stop you? And for me, I realized that whether I started in LA or Pittsburgh, if you're going to work a job, you're going to make the same amount of money either way. If you're going to make your own business, you can make the same amount of money in South Dakota as you can in New York City. If I'm going to go to New York City, live in Brooklyn in the community over there, and for a 1-bedroom apartment that looks like garbage and feels like garbage and makes you feel like garbage when you walk in and out of it,
right?
And on a street corner that is just grimy and hear honking and sirens and possibly even gunshots, you're going to pay $1,600 a month for that when you're just getting started, which most people start with a $3,000 a month salary like I did. And I get commission, obviously, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, more than half you're already committing to more than half your money coming in. Yeah. You're just starting out your life and married too, like, and we were 5 months pregnant. No way. And because that stress, yeah, you might have better weather or these things, but I just really started thinking about, well, what kind of life do we want to live? And the most important thing out of all of it is a man has to make his wife happy. And so my wife's parents live here, which wasn't the primary reason of anything at all about moving here, but it's very important because it's a great bonus. And a man needs to do whatever it takes to make his wife happy. None of this stuff of me. A man has to make his wife happy. And if that means you go from the Golden Coast of LA to the Iron Mountains of Pittsburgh Pittsburgh, you got to do that. And not just that, you got to be happy. You got to figure out how to make it.
Absolutely. And, nothing against New York. It's a fantastic city. I love it every time I go. But you're right. It is very, very expensive to live, especially when you're starting out. And the wonderful thing now about the internet is you really can work from anywhere. So if a place like Pittsburgh has more opportunities for you in the space that you're getting into, which is, it sounds like robotics, then by all means.
No, Pittsburgh itself is robotics. That's not my space, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you met people in that space.
Of course.
But yeah, it sounds like it is a good fit for you and your situation, and it's obviously giving you the opportunity to grow. So you did mention earlier the daily increase as it applies to Hasidic Jews. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that means and how that's applied in your daily life?
So what comes to mind, and I really wanted to be awesome for you here, so I spoke to my role model and mentor, Rabbi Manis Friedman, who was on my podcast, and we're actually starting our own together, which is so exciting. But before we start, we were already recording, and before we started, I said, hey, I'm going on this show called The Daily Increase. Would you mind? I know for myself, but would you mind telling me, what does Hasidics say about the daily increase? And he said, for what and for who, which I completely agree with. It's all about for what and for who. Who are you serving? What are you waking up to do? And what when you say get better today, get what better? Because a noble sensation of, I want to wake up today and get better, it just isn't enough. It has to be for what and for who. So the other day I was called a go-giver by somebody. And it was funny because I heard that word before, but the way it was explained to me was, it sounds like you wake up in the morning to go give and other people wake up to go get. And then the guy says, well, I find that that's also in Torah. And so I said to myself, well, of course it's not also in, it started there and it's also now being called in English, the go-giver. It is a total fundamental in life that you are a soul put into a body that has something important to do. If you're going to wake up and talk about, I want to get better at my business, the issue you're going to face is the for what and for who aren't defined. Or if today I just want to take a big run because I want to get in shape, for what and for who? If I just want to, I just want to be closer to my friend, for what and for who? If it's for yourself and it's not for him, it's just, you're never going to get anywhere. And so by having a God above me and by knowing that that's who I'm serving, tell you I thought if you might want, a lot of people talk about writing down a mission statement, and I just find that so many people talk about it and not many people, I haven't actually met many other people that have it. And so I brought mine down here if you want me to read it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
All right. So my life's purpose is to hasten the coming of the Messiah. I do this by being a husband who loves, cherishes, and makes his wife happy. I'm a father to children who are born to serve God. I will earn an income by making an impact. I will put content out there. I will make products. I will help other businesses and create marketing funnels to make sales. God wants this to happen and will bless all action. I am here to serve people and give them power. We will be free from financial burdens and have time for my wife and I to do everything we want and desire to do. I'm going to learn and serve God. The Messiah is going to come. God and us will dance forever. And so reading this twice a day, you have to have something written like this that you can read twice a day. If it's coming from Hasidic Judaism, it's coming from Napoleon Hill, it has to be right. It just has to be correct at some point, that you have this written down, because you're putting these boundaries above yourself. We have a part of us that can transcend and a part of us that's like an animal. And that part of us that's like an animal, if you watch animal documentaries and look at lions as an example, they just sleep all day. There's no purpose. There's nothing going on. So we're not like that. We could be different. And so if you have something written down that's going to compel you to kind of whip you in the butt a little bit to do something, that's going to help you make decisions. So if you have to decide, should I go here or here now? Well, if there's no for what and no for who, and there's no purpose, then you're not going to know what to do. It's going to be a struggle to make that decision. And really, decision making should be the easiest part of your day. So we think for what and for who. You have to have a compelling reason to wake up, because saying I just I just want to, no. You need to be clear. You need to have clarity.
Exactly. So, and that's very well thought out. Your statement's extremely well written. I can tell you spent a lot of time putting that together. It's a wonderful affirmation. You say you read it twice a day. Is it, early morning, end of the day, or when do you do that?
When you wake up and when you go to sleep.
Excellent.
We have so much built into our, I call it prescription. You could say the Torah. There's so much built into what we have to do. So one of the most special parts of my day is at night. We have something called Kriya Shema Al Mitta, which means the affirmation of God's oneness before you go to sleep. And the first line is in there. It just hits me so hard every day. Master of the universe, I hereby forgive everyone, anyone that might have sinned against me, whether physically or financially, I forgive them. Then you say, and as for everything that I've done, please wipe it away. Please don't ever let me do it again. And so just that formula of first, I'm going to sleep forgiving everybody. So when that started happening for me, that was just just huge shift, oh man, that guy frustrated me. Okay, I'm going to forgive him right now. Oh, that person did this. I can't believe them. Okay, right now I'm going to forgive them. I'm going to just go forgive them. And then we learn that after you've forgiven other people, you can forgive yourself. You can't ask for forgiveness if you're mad at other people, if you're holding against them, because if you're going to ask your creator for forgiveness, you have to also do what he's doing for you, for other people. So we have so much built into our day that I really believe that other people can adopt. You don't have to be a Hasidic Jew to do what I just said. There's also a ton of other things that we do and attempt to think about that you don't have to be Jewish for. So it's just so awesome to see you doing a show like this, because really we can actually set up our days to really, you could even call, if you want to call it putting us on a leash, just realizing that I can't myself, for my own volition and for my own purposes, accomplish everything I want to, then that's a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think forgiveness is something that is something that is not really emphasized enough, I think, in the personal development space, because if you want to grow as a person, as an individual, I think a big part of that is forgiving others and forgiving yourself for either things you've done or things that people have done to you. And when you are able to do that, and it's great that you do that every day, and it's a powerful affirmation to do. When you are able to do that, that's when you can really begin to grow and move on as a person.
Totally. And I would even change it from just saying it's a great idea to saying that it's actually required of us. Again, I'm not saying it's required of everybody, but it's actually a part of our day that is not allowed to not do. So God really thinks it's important.
Right. Yeah. And again, the importance of a morning routine and an evening routine is very critical. And anyone that I talk to that's successful, they all say, yeah, I have this morning routine and I have this evening routine. And you just find that compounds over time and just starts to really shift your mindset and your habits in a different direction.
And our leader, Lubavitcher Rebbe, said that, and this is what I am going to use for anybody that says anything about waking up. The answer to anybody saying they can't do something is, really, you could. When you're not interested, it seems impossible. So right now you're not interested. So really you could. We have to change our language. There's no can'ts. There's wants. There's no needs. It's just want. You're going to do what you want. Like I need a coffee. No, you want a coffee. It's important. And people get mad at me. I just say, not really, but the clients that I coach understand this, that you don't say I need a coffee. Do that. Do yourself a favor. Drink your coffee. Go ahead. I'm not here to say anything about it. Drink your coffee. Don't say I need it. Say I want it. That's going to change your life, because you can't wake up in the morning. You don't want to. You haven't experienced what happens when you're up for 3 hours before anybody else even woke up yet. You don't know. That's magic. You're missing out on one of the greatest human experiences possible. That's what separates us from the animals, is waking up early to do something for a reason. That is what separates us. And if you don't take advantage of that privilege and opportunity we're given, you're missing out. And some people think, oh, I'll just wake up and I'll still be successful. Well, what's success? Yeah, you can. I'm not. Am I saying on your show that you can't make a living if you wake up at 8:30 every day? Of course you can. We know people like that.
Right. But
you're not. Are you going to be fulfilled? Not possible. It's just not, because you missed out on a part of your physical, chemical life. It's proven scientifically that what happens in the morning is just the same way that if you go to sleep at 9 or 10 at night, you get a lot more out of those hours before 12 than you do after. The same thing in the morning. It's scientifically proven. You wake up at 5:15, my schedule, 5:10, downstairs, 5:15 workout, 20, 30 minutes, off to learn Torah, then prayer service, back home, son wakes up, one and a half year old almost, cuddle him, drink some water, wife and new baby daughter now wake up, come downstairs, we have breakfast. Now write down the 2 most important things you have to do today. Okay, well, I have to go these errands and I have these phone calls. No, that's not what I asked you. What are the 2 most important things that you have to do? That's it. Stop it. Stop. And I call this bad behavior. Don't let yourself have bad behavior. What are the 2 most important things? So right now, on your show, I'll be very vulnerable. I have a book coming out in March called I Am Not Your Rabbi. And I have an online course around the same time called Baal Teshuva University. And what Baal Teshuva University means, like we talked about, is you could call it the Daily Increase University if you wanted to translate in English. We won't go into it now because it's not exactly that, but for your way to model what I'm saying in another language, that's a way to look at it.
Okay.
The Jewish version of that. And it's going to teach about getting mentors, how, using the same exact email templates that I've used to secure meetings with billionaires. So that is not an easy thing to do, but that's what I want to do really badly. And guess what? If I don't do it, it's not going to get done. So each one of those gets an hour of my day right now. So somebody says, what do you have to do today? That's what I have to do. The phone calls, the other things, of course I need to do them, but those things have to happen. What's in your life right now that's not happening every day, that if you spent 10 weeks, I'm going to have a book written. It's been a dream of mine forever. Like what in your life do you want to do that you're just like, wow, I really would like to do something like that. What can you do for an hour a day for the next 3 months that actually might get you there? You could do that. It's not going to happen without a morning routine. You're exactly correct. It can't happen.
Yeah. And that's exactly, that was the inspiration for me starting the Daily Increase. It's like you have this goal in your example to write a book, and that's a monumental task. It can seem overwhelming, but if you dedicate an hour a day like you're doing, you're going to get there. Right. And an hour, and maybe the first day, in the first hour, maybe you just research how to write a book, and that could be your first hour, but you did something. And if you do something every day towards that goal, then eventually you have a physical book in your hands that you wrote.
This is why reading biographies is a very important thing. When I got to Pittsburgh, I heard of this guy, Andrew Carnegie. Like, what? Richest man in the world ever. Okay, so there's somebody that's really wildly successful I never heard of before, and now he's like the hero of the city I live in. Go on Amazon right now.
Right.
What books can I get? Gospel of Well, biography by David Nasso. I killed that biography of David Nasso. And that was a year and a half ago. And by the way, almost everything that goes into my business practices and ideology comes from that. Read a biography. Find out about these people, what they've done. Because guess what? You're not the first person to ever try to. There's nothing that you can do that you're the first person to ever try that. Just give that idea up. Let it meditate on that idea. Let it go. Forgive yourself. You're not the first person. You're not the first anything. You're not the center of the universe. You're nothing. All you are is one person. And you as one person can do so much by becoming so nothing. And this nothing means I'm going to learn. Who was Andrew Carnegie? I'll tell you, this guy was a freaking immigrant from Scotland, just like all the other people who went to go work at the mills, decided and made decisions as a kid. I don't want to do that. What do I need to do? Starts reading didn't even know how to read, taught himself how to read, joined clubs, took a job that was in a back office so he didn't have to go to a steel mill, realized that by meeting people, he was moving around and things were happening. And I have a mentor who fashions a lot of his thinking from this because he was raised in Pittsburgh itself. A lot of Pittsburgh people think is relationships. Who could I meet today? Who can change my life? And not because I'm just taking from them, but who has reached a point of not really needing from the younger generation anything other than giving to it. Those are people you need to get around. now, because those people have so much for you. But the thing is, Judaism says, make for yourself a mentor. Mentors aren't going to come find you. No successful person like the kind of guy I'm describing is going to come to your house and say, hey, I've made $50 million in my career. Would you like me to mentor you?
Right.
No, stop thinking like that. Gosh, stop it.
Finding a mentor, having a mentor, I think is critical to anybody being successful in whatever field you want to get into. However, it's also very challenging because typically people that you want to be your mentors, aka successful people, are very busy and they have a lot of people coming after them that are needy, like give me. So what's a strategy that you've used to find a mentor that's worked for you?
Great. That's a great question. And I totally acknowledge and agree with you of that challenge. It's a huge challenge, and what you said is exactly correct. And the leader of the Hasidic Jewish movement, Lubavitcher Rebbe, who I mentioned, speaks about this in a vigorous way, because what happened was in 1988, 86, he passed away at 92. And as he obviously followers grew and grew, you just, as a person, cannot talk to everybody. So, and when people get to old ages, they know kind of what's coming, and we don't need to talk about it. But so people started writing into him. Well, what do I do? What do I do? How do I, if I can't reach you or I can't talk to you, what do I do? Quote from him is that in 2 places it's said in Torah that make for yourself a mentor. And he doesn't talk like this that much. 2 places. For us, that's a strong, serious statement. In 2 places, this is mentioned. And he started to talk about the need. So first and foremost, for the strategy is talking about getting a mentor is a big thing. I hear in the American personal development world, obviously it's very encouraged over there. But I think by us, what I would want to convey is right now, are you somebody that can be mentored? Because who you are will also attract that mentor. Are you someone that can listen? Are you someone that wants it? You need to make the changes. That's why in the course called Teshuva University, the step before getting the mentor is actually working on yourself in different ways. Because I want you, before you get this meeting, I don't want to put you in a meeting with a billionaire unequipped. You have to know what you're getting into. You have to study success. You have to study where these guys are coming from. You need to know what they're talking about. And it's not that you can't make mistakes or anything like that, but don't be selfish. Selfish is going to them without doing your own work. The best mentor is not somebody that's going to do anything for you. So that's what you have to expect. Nothing to get done for you, and that what they say should be able to impact what you do and teach you something. So if you're going to them not prepared, don't follow these strategies I'm about to say. As you say, don't try it at home, because it actually will put you in a worse place than actually getting the meeting with the billionaire or whoever you might say, somebody who's been married for 40 years. So the second principle that's most important, we say a mentor. He mentions a specific mentor for each thing. So in your physical life, your health, have somebody for that. In your business, have somebody for that. For marriage, have somebody for that. And at the same time, each person should be somebody. It says in Torah that the mentor that you should have should represent an angel. So now you're going to say, well, Matisyahu, what the heck is an angel? I've never seen one before. A great question. So an angel, simply in human terms, is somebody who's kind, is somebody that you want to really emulate. And so if this person that you think is so awesome in business, somebody you don't see necessarily treating people nicely, I don't care how much money he has, you gotta take space. You can't do that.
Right.
You somebody who has a great physical life, but like is kind of poor. If it's because he has a noble mission and he's making a living, fine. But if it's a bad attitude, but he has a great body, no.
Yeah, not a good match.
No, exactly. So then that comes to the last piece, the third piece, when you talk about strategies. Make for yourself a mentor means exactly what it sounds like. No mentor is going to make himself your mentor. You need to force somebody into being your mentor. That's what you need to do. You need to not think about people are busy. You have to force people into that position, because nobody wants to be that, just like nobody wants to be the receiver. Nobody wants to be mentored naturally. No person wants to naturally mentor or be mentored, because naturally, on a natural human physical condition, the first thing a human thinks about is I. So I does not come in the form of giving or receiving. I comes in the form of, if I'm the mentor, I want to keep doing my own thing, like you correctly mentioned. But at the same time, if the person that wants to be mentored if he's also thinking that way, we got an issue. So you have to force this person. So if you're somebody that's going to be a little scared to email the CEO of a $1 billion company, that's the issue. It's a fundamental issue because it's not following this line of make for yourself. And I can guarantee from my side of things that we know that you will be blessed if you try to do this idea of this forcing. So yeah, people are busy, but if you're not going to go knowing what you need from this person, are you looking to be introduced to somebody? Are you looking for an investor? Are you looking for money? That's not a mentor. So what is a mentor? That's the question. What are you looking for? Where are you holding in your life and where are you trying to go? Why is meeting this person going to even do anything for you? Do you have clarity before you even write this email to this person? Because guess what? If you reframe this stuff and put it in the right way, it's going to be hard for people not to help you because everybody wants to help on their not natural state, which is, if you think about it, if you're talking about these kind of successful people, they're probably thinking this way. So if you're framing it like, yeah, I've got this new company and we're raising money right now, no, they don't want to talk to you.
Right.
That's for an investor. So I think the most common mistake people are making is not realizing what a mentor is and going to people. Like I had to realize with my mentor for business, it's been about since February. And so 9 amazing months. I'm telling you, the changes and the growth that's happened are insane. It doesn't make sense. To be able to go to him and show him contracts that I have with the client or say, can you walk me through this? That's just priceless. Yeah. Does he have money? Yeah, duh. But not for me, for his other things.
Right.
We have a different relationship. And also, I will add, this does not mean as a rule you can't work with your mentor, but that's not why it started. If your mentor wants to bring you in, like mine has now done with me for something that he's doing because of the skills you have, that's awesome. But that's not the expectation. So really is having that clear expectation of why you want a mentor, what's it going to do for you? Yeah,
it definitely starts with the self-work, and you have to be ready. It's just like being in a relationship. You have to be a person that's ready to be in a relationship before you can get into one. And that usually starts with loving yourself and being the best version of yourself that you can be at the moment. So when you do identify what you want in a mentor and you know the purpose, how do you go about, how do you do the ask? How do you do the approach? Is it like you said, an email? Is it like, hey, can you mentor me and I'll do this for you? Like a trade sort of, or
what a great question. Yeah. What a great question. Thanks for pushing me further. So that interesting point is one, this trade idea is a long discussion. And so I don't want to confuse anybody with a short answer. So I'll be as clear as possible that trading is not priority number one, because things in between relationships and things in relationships are hard to watch for. So if you want to talk about trading, maybe down the road, and maybe it won't even feel like a trade at that point. But to begin with, a pure, beautiful mentor relationship is what I'm sure that you're asking about, is where is this person going to be congregating? Where does this person go? The email is not priority number one. We can get there. And I promise, email is hard. Even after you met the person in person, the follow-up email. So where is this person? Does he go to this event? Does he not go? So if he doesn't go, we can talk about that. But for me, there's a ton of events on Eventbrite. You could go to all of them. I don't think it's going to do much for you. You have to go. You see a title of an event called "Why Robotics is the Hub," or "Pittsburgh is the Hub of Robotics." Now, it hit me, man. That night, I was tired, long day, but I was thinking, what kind of person goes to this? What kind of person would go to this event? And it was really hitting me. I'm like, man, I just read Think and Grow Rich yesterday. What should I do? And I just went. Where are these people congregating? And then the ask, obviously, you want from me. So like I mentioned, what are you willing to do for that kind of relationship? Are you willing to stay after everybody? Like LeBron James stays after a championship game to hit free throws if he felt he didn't do well enough? Like, are you willing to be the last person at that event? And possibly the guy still walk off? Because I'll tell you, one of the people I'm mentioning, I went up to him. We spoke for a minute. He got very interested in me. And he asked me, I said, I just spoke for a while. I'm thirsty. Would you mind sitting down with me and having a drink? I sat with the guy who everybody else only had a 5-second interaction with for 45 minutes. Come on.
Yeah, that's amazing. You got quality time with him.
Totally. And so now you're wondering, Matisyahu, okay, what are you doing in that 45 minutes, right? What are you doing? So again, not possible to even do what I'm about to say without that pre-work, about that self-work, like you mentioned. So yeah, in that 45 minutes, what are we doing? We're talking about him. We're talking about how. We're talking about what's. You are not the subject. You are not the center of the world. So when you go to someone like this, you have to first have a lot of respect for what this person has going on in their life. Because you could just do an imagination exercise of thinking about everything that you are busy with. Times it by 40, 100 if you want to, because that's probably reality. And think to yourself, is my little startup, is my thing, is that what I should be talking about? Or is me and him connecting the most important thing? Because all the things he does, he just talked for an hour. You think he wants to talk more about that? Or you think he wants to have some excitement? So really thinking about this other person, man, this is a human being. Yeah, he's exalted and all these cool things, but no, it's a human who has the same needs you do. He also wants to be heard. He also wants to be, by the way, he also wants to be an active listener, because of course he does. That feels good as a human.
Right.
So he wants to do the same things you want. So just do them. Get to know him like you would get to know me. Get to know him like you would get to know your brother or sister. That's all you're doing. Get to know this guy. Because guess what? You think he might be your ideal mentor, but what if you find out he's not?
Yeah.
You're making assumptions before you started. Get to know him. That's the secret to all of this. Get to know the person.
On a human level, that's an excellent point. I think we forget a lot of times that, we glorify or we make these people that are very successful. So we put them in such a high pedestal, and we forget they're human beings just like we are. And that's an excellent point. And it's a great way to approach that situation.
Thank you. I agree.
So basically, it comes down to two things from what you're saying. It's do the inner work or do the self work and have clarity on what you want and what the purpose is, and then connect with that individual on a human level.
Totally. It doesn't have to go into sales tactics, manipulation tactics. It just doesn't have to actually even get there.
Right.
If you're in a real place, like you are genuine, that you actually do have something that you actually do want to get better at, then it should be enough for you that conversation actually does enough for you. It doesn't have to be, you are not going for a home run. Go for singles. Hit singles. This guy does not have to be. Nothing has to in life. It doesn't have to happen. He doesn't have to be your mentor. This actually could end up being a friend that you just didn't realize you were worthy of a friend like this. That's your fault, not his. Because this guy has done that pre-work. I can guarantee it. Where he has the confidence to do at the event that you just listened to. So by doing that pre-work, like you're talking about in your words, that when you sit down, there's that stuff can't show up. Ideas of me, you can't be consumed with that, because then you're not present. So yeah, with your friends, that might be okay. But with somebody who's not in that place, you are going to this person as a mentor. So don't think that he's in that place that you're at. Think that if he just spoke at this event, or this is what he does for a living, or this is the kind of marriage he has, or this is the kind of physical life he has, this is the kind of mindset he has, assume that he's a bit healthy and that he deals with other people on his level and that he's not intimidated by you. So it doesn't have to be one person intimidated by the other. It actually can be both aren't intimidated of each other. And from there, I think what you should evaluate is that if you were to have another conversation with this person, where would you go? Not where would he go? Where would you go? What would happen through that? So for me, ultimately, I have a mentor for my physical life. I have one for my marriage. I have one for my spirituality, and I have one for my business activity. Then what happens is when you make your mentor in your different departments, then people that you once thought might be your dream mentor actually can start becoming your colleagues. In Torah, we have something called a Talmud Haver, which means a friend associate. So this means that there is a dimension of friendship in the Torah that talks about not equal friendship. So you could be, quote unquote, above someone else and quote unquote below someone without it being actually a mentor relationship. And that's awesome, because what that opens up is now, as a 27-year-old, you could be friends with the 42-year-old. When you're 50, you could be friends with the 30-year-old. And that's just opening up all the different dimensions of relationships possible. So you don't have to just think I need a mentor. You could think I need some older friends that also can give some mentorship, but I can also provide some level of companionship, some fun to. And again, that mentor person needs to be someone who doesn't need anything from you to be successful. So these kind of, as we call them, friend, colleague people, it's very possible that they could benefit from you, but that's also not what it's about. So there's these different elements, and then it leads to the second step of what Torah calls acquiring a friend. So you have make for yourself a mentor, acquire yourself a friend. And the word it uses in the Hebrew language is the same word for buying and purchasing, which is why we translate it as acquiring. Because when it comes to friendship, networking, just like you need to make for yourself a mentor, you need to acquire friends. And that means that if you meet someone cool and you need to buy them a book for Amazon, you need to send them something to be remembered, that's not manipulating. That is solidifying a friendship. That is showing somebody you care about them and you think about them. That is having a proper and healthy relationship with money. That's not just yours to hoard, that it's yours to do positive things with. So with these kind of people that I'm talking about that might be older than you or your same age, just ahead, and for whatever reason, I mean, look at me. After college, what did I do? I went to Israel for 2 years. So I don't think of myself as 2 years behind anybody. I just think of myself as the moment we got back to Pittsburgh, which was last February, I am now 1 year and 9 months into it. Mm-hmm. So if somebody started 2 years before that, clearly they could be further along. There's just time is a part of your journey also. So it doesn't have to be about who's better. It's just reality. This guy has done something. This guy has done something else. So
yeah, you've had different life experiences than someone else. And I think that's important to remember, is that we should never directly compare our lives to somebody else's, because there's so many circumstances and situations that you've had that someone else hasn't had or not had the same of. And so it gives you perspective when you realize that.
Yeah, and I would even argue that what your journey and experience is might even be the only thing that you have that no one else in the entire planet has.
Exactly.
That's what's going to be appreciated out of you from your mentors and from your network, your ideal friends. I mean, that's just what's going to be the draw. It's not going to be about a trade. And we have to stop thinking in the world of transactions all the time. And we have to start thinking in the realm of possibilities and opportunities and positivity, love, giving. So that way it's not about, that's why that my clients and other people I speak to, the common mistake that's happening is that they're not having the ideals and mindset of no transaction necessary. We're such a transaction culture. That's not necessary. My mentor doesn't want or need anything from me, and yet I gain the world. And guess what? It says, just like we gain the world from having a mentor, you uplift them too.
Yes.
So don't worry about that.
That's right. That's right. They are getting something out of it, and it may not be something physical or tangible, but they do. And that's really ultimately at the end of the day why they do it.
Of course. And you need to appeal to that and find people that want that. And it's not manipulating them. That's giving them a privilege and giving them an honor and actually a duty that we have as human beings to mentor. If it's going to say make for yourself a mentor, clearly it means that that somebody has to be made one. It's not just like make air into a mentor.
Right.
You have a duty to be a mentee and a mentor. So, and at the same time with friends. So if we don't make it about that transaction, it's going to be so healthy, so beautiful. You're going to not even know what hit you. It's just going to be awesome.
That is fantastic, Matisyahu, and you're dropping some serious wisdom right now. I'm loving this. If there's a couple of things that you could leave our listeners with, and you certainly touched on a lot of topics, what would be 2 daily habits that you strongly recommend someone do if they're looking to make significant changes in their lives?
Great question. When it comes to habits, it's something I don't spend a lot of time thinking about, but I'm more in the realm of the mindset habit. So if we can go there, if you all will for a second, so I can leave you with 2 very important things. Look at the relationships in your life every day and think about how can you add more love? What can you give to those relationships? Is there someone you can call today that hasn't been called by you? Is there someone that might be alone that your phone call might mean the world to? Is there something that you could do to stop your day for someone else? Can you do that? Can you be that type of person? Can you? Yeah, that I think will only follow if you do habit number 2, which has to come after giving. You have to give to yourself. So you need to cut that day open. You need to go in there and you need to drill a hole in your day for yourself. You have to, the only person in the world that's going to give yourself some space is you. The only person that's going to invest in you is you. The best way to do that is stop using the words can't or need and start thinking in the term of want. What do I want? And remember that if you're not waking up at 5:15 in the morning or 6 or 7, whatever it is for you, if it's just not stretching your comfort zone, really you could, but you're not interested. And when you're not interested, it seems impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have yet to meet a successful person that does not have a morning routine. And by that, I mean an early morning routine, a routine that starts before their day starts. So if you have to be at work at 9, it doesn't mean you get up at 8. It means you get up at 7 or 6 and do at least an hour or so worth of things not related to your quote unquote job.
Of course.
That's how you make breakthroughs. And that's where you have all the clarity and everything else.
Totally. Giving is essential to fulfilling your purpose and mission, which ultimately gives you the most pleasure that you can have. And that won't even happen. If you're a giver, you'll give to yourself. Let's just put it that way. It's a clear sign of somebody who's properly giving to themselves when you see them properly giving to others, because you can't do that. It's actually in recovery circles called codependency. Mm-hmm. If you're giving to others without giving to yourself. So it's important. You're totally right. And whether it's all successful people, whoever really it is just, you could talk about it for 10 hours on a webinar, how much it does for you to wake up early and do that.
Yeah, I have yet to come across evidence that is contrary to that. So we've covered a lot about your journey and about your amazing rituals, habits, and the way you look at life. If someone wanted to get in touch with you or just find out more about you, what are some ways you could do that?
My email is matisyahu@thelongshortway.com. That's always first, just because you might not be a customer, client, listener, follower. But if you have a question about what we talked about today, and I could point you in the right direction, whatever it might be, Matisyahu. So you might see it in the show description, but it's MATISYAHU at thelongshortway.com. Thank God the Long Short Way has started and grown this year, where we interview experts like Juan does, and we're focused on marriage, physicality, spirituality, business, and effectiveness. So we interview anybody from a best-selling author to rabbis to fitness gurus, and we're growing every day on there. The cool thing about it is these people have what I call like an integrated life. And so it won't be people that are preaching what isn't being practiced. But if you come on to the show and start listening, you'll see the updates for with all the exciting things happening now. We have a coaching practice that's built. It's amazing. It's called Mission with Purpose Coaching. So you can apply to that on our website. And additionally, just keep listening to Juan. That's the best thing you can do for me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I'll have all the links and the email address in the show notes as well. Really appreciate your time today, Matisyahu. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Daily Increase. If you like today's episode, you can find show notes and links to the guest webpage at thedailyincrease.com. As an added bonus, you can also join our mailing list and receive a free report on 4 daily habits you can start doing today to change your life. Please subscribe on iTunes and leave a quality review. Thanks, and start making changes today. We'll see you next time.